Hello my friends, welcome to this Midlane Fundamental guide, or like however I want to call it, where I will talk about a lot of things that are really important when it comes to midlane that you need to know if you want to play this role. Who am I to tell you this? I was a full-time pro player, challenger on EOS, and now let's get straight into the video. We are using Caps as an example here. We have a solo queue game from him, you see G2 Caps on any right now, and we can learn a lot of things from him. So the first thing that we usually want to do when we are playing midlaner is level 1 already putting down a ward. Why do we even want to put down this ward, or like why is it good for our team? So the main reason for that is that usually we can predict the full clear like of the enemy jungler. So let's say for example the enemy is not showing here on Raptors, like not now, not now, not now, he's still not showing, okay, he's still not showing. So this probably means that the enemy jungler is starting topside, which then means that he's pathing to bot. So we can already like see that our Poppy is probably like safe on top side because enemy jungler is screening to bot, and maybe this even gives us like a window to invade the enemy jungler. But you know, everyone seeing the enemy jungler here, it's just really good because now the clear is like kind of known. He will path this way towards bot lane, then he will either play for the scuttle or like go base into topside scuttle, and then whenever he's basing, right, then he goes into his topside again, clears top to bot again probably. So we kind of know how he's clearing, and the only reason for that is because Caps actually warded. So if you see windows in your own games to do that, it's really good, not only for you, but especially for your teammates, for your jungler, for your bot lane, for your top lane. And now when it comes to the lane itself, there are obviously like the fundamentals that you're basically having on every single lane, right? So wave fundamentals, which should be clear to you, and then we're having the fundamentals of like spacing and also spacing enemy skill shots and like dodging. That's like a really big part about mid lane. So when you have no idea when the enemy has cooldown up again, so like say for example you would play like Syndra or Orianna matchup or something, you really need to know the cooldown of your spells. Like, are your spells coming back up first, or like does the enemy like have less cooldown than you, right? This is really important, and you kind of need to know this for all the champions that you are playing. Like let's say you're playing Annie in this game and you have like lower cooldown on your spell rotation than Sidus, then you can probably always play proactive, right? Then you don't need to respect like specific timers. Okay, and now the most important part on mid lane is kind of whenever we are getting a push. So getting a push means that we are pushing like a lane in, and now we're basically having 4 options on what we can do. We can do this direction where we are actively hitting the turret, for example, going for plates, then we can like fog into a side, or we can just go here. You should never really do this. You should always look to fog into a side. That's a really important fundamental for mid laners. So Caps pushed mid lane here, and now he's actually fogging into bot side. That means if we are now looking at enemy vision, for example, like how does it look for them, right? It's really important to understand. So Caps is fogging into bot side here. That means now the enemy bot lane kinda needs to be scared next wave, right? So you should never just walk in a straight line. Here you should always look to fog into a specific side, because then you can always decide between like moving through or just going back to your like wave again, right? And now obviously you can just fog and then recall here, right? Like that's what we usually want to do, because if we move bot lane now, for example, we will lose a lot of waves. So what Caps is doing is fogging. He's in fog here, and now he sees, okay, enemy bot lane is not respecting the fog, right? Because enemy bot lane is probably predicting him to base, and he sees that bot lane is like pretty volatile and the enemies want to crash in base. So now he's moving all the way through, bam, 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 to bot lane, and is basically getting 3 kills. Pretty good by him. Obviously, he's losing a few mid waves for that. So the main takeaway should be that whenever we are pushing a wave and securing prio on midline waves is super important, that we're always fogging into one specific side. This will apply a lot of pressure on the map and on the enemies. Then we are a bit further into the game, and now we want to talk about hovering the correct side. This can have like many examples, but this is like a good one. So whenever you're playing lane, usually on mid lane you're building yourself up like a kind of safe side, right? So Caps, for example, he has a pink ward here. Like let's imagine there would be no ward here. So then this side would be our safe side, because now we should we should always split the map into like a line, and now this is our safe zone kind of here, and this here is all our danger side, because we don't want to hover into this side, because let's imagine we had no vision here. So usually what we want to do is never hit like something from the middle of the lane, always on a specific side. Now let's see what Caps is doing. We do red side vision. Now Caps is here, he sees Mundo, and what he's doing now is pretty important, because he's not chilling in the middle of the lane, like here, he's hovering the top side, right? It's really important, because if Caps would hover the wrong side here, right now, then maybe he's in danger of Mundo just flashing on him and him dying. By staying here, even without flash, he would be completely safe. So hovering the correct side on mid lane waves is super important in every single second of the game basically. You should always be mindful about which side you actually want to hover in and which side can maybe be dangerous for you. Especially when enemy support is getting a lot of moves into mid lane, then building up vision on top side can be really good, because then you are basically dodging the enemy gank. Now another important part is to find proper lane assignments. So we have Caps here, he pushed out a mid lane wave. And what's happening now is a bit more complicated. His Jhin is just going to mid lane. The bot lane wave is kind of pushed and Caps is chilling on this mid lane wave now. So he's a bit confused on why Jin's just walking to this mid lane wave with basically giving the team this bot lane wave, right? So what Caps is doing now is to finding or he tries to find a solution for the problem. So what he's doing, instead of just pushing this mid wave like a lot of people would do, what we're doing now is basically going top lane. Our Jhin went from bot lane to mid lane, and now our top laner, right, Poppy, is going all the way to bot lane, which is really good to solve the lane assignments. And your job as a side laner is usually always to kind of swap with the AD carry or to find proper lane assignments where you're actually good in the game. So Talia is top side, right? Ra can just put down top side vision, so Caps wants to be on strong side. So he's actually actively going into top lane here, which is really, really good by him. So now you can see here, he went into top lane, his jungle was around, they're just fighting the Ambassador and just getting a free kill, only because he did good lane assignments and was super aware of where he wants to be, especially with his lead that he has right now. Okay, now what a lot of people do wrong is that usually on side lane people are just running onto the wave, but Caps sees the enemy top laner here, that the enemy top laner wants to touch next wave. So what a lot of people would do is just randomly run on side lane and start hitting the wave. Okay, that's not really good, because each time we are basically giving the enemy a window or the information that we are going somewhere, it's really bad. So you can always try to be creative running onto these side lane lanes. This is just an example. So what he's doing now is, instead of showing on the wave like a lot of people would just do here, he's actually going into the bush, waiting if the enemy is stepping up. The enemy is stepping up, he's using his full combo, and he basically gets a free kill on Ambessa, only by doing this simple trick, right? Just be aware whenever you're opening on side lane as a solo laner to be a bit more creative, use vision, use the bushes, and maybe how you can cheese the enemy. And now the last thing that is really important for mid lane is whenever you cannot open into a specific side lane. A lot of people feel really lost on the map then, but I give you a simple solution. So the top lane wave, for example, is push right now. So when we would be opening top lane now as any, we would say that we are opening into a dead lane. When we are opening bot lane, then we would maybe overload the bot lane with Poppy, for example. So what Caps is doing instead is, and we can do this a lot of times as mid laner, is that we are simply opening on the lane where we want to get prio. So, for example, by opening here on mid lane, we will have numbers on this mid lane wave, which then secures us the push in mid lane to make the game more playable again. Because Ambessa showed top lane, right? And now, soon, someone needs to go top lane if she keeps pushing, but he used his move when there was nothing to take on the map right now to go mid lane and force this next mid lane prio, which is really good, because by securing the mid lane prio we will get access in the river first again. I hope you found this helpful. Feel free to check out my coaching Discord or my Patreon. I'm uploading coaching sessions there, but also detailed tier list guides and gameplay of myself with commentary. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me on Discord. And if you watched this far, thank you very much. Feel free to leave a like, and I'm wishing you a nice day. Goodbye.